introduce the man who has not only pledged but follow through on his promise to stand in the gap for our Georgians when not once but twice responding to hurricanes here in the state, overcoming seemingly insurmountable obstacles, enduring unimaginable hardships, and made sacrifices. The Adjutant General of Georgia, Major General Dwayne Wilson, who oversees and commands over 14,000 troops, also saw them in support to our neighbors across this great state. With that, I'd like to ask General Wilson to come up.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction. Governor and Mrs. Kemp, previously recognized distinguished guests, our elected and appointed leaders that are here with us this morning, thank you for allowing me to participate in today's event. I'm honored to be here with you all as we pause once again to recognize our nation's veterans and their families. Before I get too far along, I want to also thank Mrs. Williams, Shelley Williams, for that treat of the national anthem. You know, I always love hearing you sing, so thank you so much for what you do for us. You know, we've got the best chaplains in the military right here in the Georgia National Guard, so Chaplain Burris, thank you for what you do for our soldiers and our families and our airmen each and every day, and then the color guard, the honor guard that was here. Just thank you all for supporting each of these events. Today's a special day. It's a day to honor the generations of brave men and women from all branches of service who have courageously served our state and our nation with distinction. If you're a veteran here today, I'm going to ask you to either stand up or raise your hand really quick. If you can stand, please stand. If you can't, raise your hand. But I want to personally thank you all for your service and your sacrifice to our state and our nation. President Calvin Coolidge said long ago that the nation that forgets its defenders will itself be forgotten. Well, as I look around here this morning, I don't think we have that problem here in Georgia. The fact that we're having this event and that you all are here this morning is a simple reminder that our state and our nation has not and will not forget the men and women who have defended freedom wherever and whenever it's been required. We're also blessed with a great leadership team for veterans here in Georgia. I know without a doubt that Commissioner Ross and her folks at the Georgia Department of Veterans Affairs genuinely care for our veterans and their families. They work tirelessly day in and day out, and no rock goes unturned on behalf of the almost 700,000 veterans who call Georgia home. How about a round of applause for the Georgia Department of Veterans Affairs and Commissioner Ross as well. Unfortunately, World War I did not turn out to be the war to end all wars, as some had hoped back then. The Second World War, Korea, Vietnam, the Cold War, military operations in Grenada, Panama, Somalia, the first Gulf War, operations in the Balkans, and most recently, 2 decades of fighting global terrorism in places like Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria, to name a few, have required so much of America's young men and women in uniform. In the Georgia National Guard alone, over 32,000 soldiers and airmen have served overseas since September the 11th, 2001, in our nation's fight against terror. In addition to protecting America's interests abroad, our service members also support domestic emergencies and natural disasters right here at home. During this hurricane season alone, your Georgia Guardsmen responded to our citizens and local communities after the devastation of Hurricanes Debbie, Helene, and Milton. You know, just yesterday at the Clay National Guard Center in Marietta, I was honored just to be a part of a welcome home ceremony for the 48th Infantry Brigade combat team from a year-long deployment to Kosovo. And what a special event those ceremonies are. Family members, spouses, and children of all ages reunited with moms and dads after months of being apart. And those are just great events to be a part of and great events to witness. But as special as yesterday's event was, it also was a reminder that evil never takes a day off. We, the Georgia National Guard, your Georgia National Guard, still has 2,000 soldiers and airmen deployed worldwide. These heroes continue to defend the same freedom, prosperity, values, and principles that our great nation was founded on almost 250 years ago. We have a lot to be thankful for. We enjoy freedom, liberty, and equality of life that few others will ever experience. But we must never forget that it's because of the selfless service and the sacrifice of our veterans and their families that we're afforded these opportunities. We have a responsibility to continue to do all that we can to care for generations of Americans who served before us. So to all our veterans, especially all of you here this morning, thank you for what you have done, are doing, and will continue to do for our state and nation. It's because of your service and sacrifice, your dedication to duty, and your legacies that America remains the land of the free, the home of the brave, and the global guardian of freedom and liberty. Thank you all. So it's now my honor to introduce Georgia's 75th Speaker of the House of Representatives. First elected to the House in 2004, he became the Speaker of the House in 2023. Prior to his nomination as Speaker, he served for 8 years as the House Majority Leader. Ladies and gentlemen, Speaker John Burns.
I had to remind the General that I'm also a former member proudly of the Georgia National Guard. Y'all got me out on a timely basis. Well, good morning. It's a great day to be a Georgian and a great day to be an American. I'm proud of our country and our state and all of our people for this week. And the process works and our country's strong. Thank you, General. Thank you, Commissioner. To the First Lady and Governor Brian Kemp, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for caring about veterans. Thank you for caring about our state and our country and providing strong leadership in every sense of the word, in hard times and in good times. Thank you very much. You know, we're gathered here this morning to honor the bravery and the valor and the sacrifices of men and women who have worn the uniform and who wear the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. Since our founding, the spirit of the American patriot has guided our nation to victory against seemingly undefeatable enemies and insurmountable odds. And that same spirit continues to guide our nation today as we protect and defend the principles of freedom and democracy here at home and abroad. Today, it is my great pleasure and honor to introduce our speaker, who needs no introduction, on Capitol Hill and around our state. But I'm going to give you a snapshot. I think it's appropriate. As many who have served and serve today, they sometimes don't share their stories of that sacrifice for our country. I'm going to do just a little bit of that before I bring him up. Give you a snapshot of Lieutenant Colonel Chaz Cannon's service to our country. Representative Cannon rose through the ranks to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel. He served that time in the much decorated 3rd Infantry Division, the 3rd ID, Rock of the Marne. There we go. Representative Cannon was first deployed to Iraq in 2003. Then, in 2005 and 6, a second deployment to Ramadi. A third time, Representative Cannon was called on, Colonel Cannon was called on to answer the call, to go back with the surge that President Bush ordered, to go back to finish the job in Iraq. He returned, serving his men, leading his men and women to do the job that he was intended to do. Now, during that time, that's about a 5-year period. About a 5-year period. He married his beautiful wife, Beth, and over those 5 years, they only spent about a year together because of him serving our country, a sacrifice, serving our country. Then, after his deployment, he and Beth were able to go, and he was stationed then in Washington, D.C., and spent about four and a half years serving our country at the Pentagon. And there, they started a family in Washington. 2 girls, 2 little girls, before they moved back to their hometown, their beloved Moultrie, Georgia. Those are the stories that we seldom hear. And I remind us all, a story seldom told is soon forgotten. So we need to make sure we tell the story of the sacrifice and service to our country. With that, I want you to know, because the service that I see out here, House members, Senate members, the commitment to our veterans from this governor, it's my honor and my great privilege today to introduce a leader of this state who served us during times of conflict and times of peace, the Honorable Chaz Cannon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I didn't deserve that, but I appreciate it greatly. And I like to sing, but I'm not going to try to follow her. I do like to sing. Y'all know that from here in the legislature. Governor and First Lady Kemp, Speaker Burns, Major General Wilson, fellow legislators that are here, citizens and veterans, good morning. Thank you for the chance to speak here this morning as we approach another special day in our nation, Veterans Day. I'll be very brief this morning, and during that brief time, I want to share some thoughts with you about what being a veteran means to me. And what I've learned about being a veteran comes over the course of more than 20 years in uniform. Several combat deployments, being a father, a husband, a lover of this country, and more recently, a chance to serve our citizens as a civilian. Being a veteran means service, to raise your right hand and serve a just cause, a higher cause, to fight for our way of life and for your friends and neighbors, to accept that you are called to lead and to make difficult decisions that you will no doubt be questioned and criticized for. It means sacrifice, to leave your family, your home, your young bride, after only a few days of marriage, true, and not return until 15 months later. To put your life on hold while trying to improve the lives of others. To know where you're going is dangerous and destructive, but you go anyway. To give up the comforts of a warm bed and a hot shower in exchange for sleeping in the dirt and showers with wet wipes, if they're available. Then they weren't always available. It means loss, to lose your friends, your roommates, classmates in combat, sometimes in unimaginable ways. To grieve with their heartbroken families and cherish the memories of their fallen sons and daughters. To know that they died protecting us, protecting me, protecting the soldiers in their unit, and to know that they'll never be forgotten. It means grit and toughness. To carry on despite the odds being stacked against you. To disregard temporary pain and discomfort when you have lives on the line. To have the mental and physical ability to outsmart and outwork the enemy. To build courage when courage seems to fail. It means humility, to celebrate your victories quietly, to be proud of what you have, and to honor those who have come before you, and to recognize that your fellow veterans and their family members are just as important as you are to yours. To be humble and gentle in success, and to learn just as much from your losses as you do your gains. It means character, to keep your composure, to keep your head when all about are losing theirs, to remain committed to one another, to the values of our country, this country, and to your role as fathers and husbands. To set good examples for your children so that they will set good examples for theirs. And to recognize and appreciate and reward character when you see it in others. Finally, it means standards, to always strive to be competent in your endeavors, to be disciplined when others are in disarray, to serve your community when it needs you the most, and to always lead from the front. I'm proud to call myself a veteran. I'm thankful for the opportunity to have served our nation's true 1%. They are among the best this country and the state have to offer. Again, thank you for the chance to share some remarks this morning. It has been my honor. And now I have this is the shortest introduction up here today. Now I have the great pleasure of introducing our state's 83rd governor, Governor Brian Kemp.
Well, thank you very much. Thank y'all. Well, thank you very much, Representative Cannon. Thank you very much. That was the shortest and the best introduction of the morning. I'm only kidding. Speaker Burns, I think, introduced you, and really, I was thinking about when he was doing that it reminded us that is why we do things like today, to remember your stories and everybody in the audience that served your stories, and make sure that our friends and neighbors at home know those stories too, and know why we celebrate this day, and are just so thankful for you all. And I'm also thankful that you got your girls out of Washington, D.C. and back to the great state of Georgia. That makes me feel good. On behalf of our great First Lady, Marty Kemp, we are certainly honored to be here with you today. I want to thank you guys for bearing with us on our change of location at the last minute with our little gas line situation we had at the Capitol yesterday. And about the time we made the call to change and sent the notices out, they finally figured out where the valve was and got it cut off, but it was really too late to move it back to the Capitol. So I just want to thank everybody for bearing with us today. I want to thank Chris Crowder and the Supreme Court, the Georgia Court of Appeals, for helping us pull this audible and be able to still honor our great veterans today. And that is what our veterans and our active duty military do. They adapt to situations and learn to adjust and roll with the flow. And so I just want to thank you all for that. I want to thank you today for the debt that we owe all of our brave men and women who served in our armed forces, and we're mindful of that here in Georgia, and we're united in our gratitude and support for these many heroes. I have great appreciation for Speaker Burns, Representative Cannon, the other members of the General Assembly. If our members of the General Assembly would just stand. There's a lot of you here today. I want to just thank you for your willingness to show up and honor our veterans. Thank you very much. I also want to thank members of the Public Service Commissioner. Commissioner Bubba McDonald and his wife are here with us today. Commissioner Tim Eccles, Commissioner Fitz Johnson. I hope I'm not missing anybody else, but we appreciate you all making the effort to be here. I want to thank the Department of Veterans Services and the Department of Defense for helping us host this annual event, in addition to all they do for our active and retired service members. I just have such great appreciation for the service, but also for what Colonel Ross, General Wilson, Colonel Burris, and Kerry Dyer and their teams do every day serving veterans and active duty military in our state. You know, I don't normally thank the media for too many things, but I want to thank the media for being here today to help share this story of our great veterans. It means a lot for you all to show up today so that no matter where people are across our state and across our country, they know that in Georgia we honor and appreciate our veterans and our active duty military. As Speaker Burns alluded to, following this election season, it is vitally important that we remember the reason we are able to enjoy the freedom to choose our leaders is thanks to all those who answered the call to serve. As you know, freedom is not free. It requires men and women to stand in the gap against those who wish to tear down our nation and really all it represents. As long as America stands for the rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, the enemies of those values will come against our great nation. Fortunately, we can sleep soundly at night, knowing the finest fighting force in the world that has ever been known is standing on our watch, ever vigilant in protecting American life. And no matter what side of the political aisle we may be on, we should all remember we should all remember that fact this season, and I'm proud that in Georgia we have been united in supporting the brave veterans who have given so much for their fellow Americans. Whether that means committing $2 million to expanding the Veterans Mental Health Services Program or cutting red tape to make it easier for veterans and military families to find rewarding careers. In any other number of measures that we have helped pass through the General Assembly, we are taking action to benefit those everyday heroes and to recognize and thank their service. That's important in our state because we have over 700,000 veterans and their families calling Georgia home. And it's vital that they have what they need to be able to succeed in our state. Because even more than that, we are supporting our veterans because it's the right thing to do, because it's the only thing to do when you consider the immeasurable sacrifice that they have made for all of us. These are our fathers and mothers, our sons and daughters, the people we work and worship with, and that we see every single day. So this Veterans Day, as well as every day around the year, if you see one of those everyday heroes, I would simply ask that you thank them. It may not sound like much, but it's the least that we can do to let them know we will never forget all of their contributions. I want to thank you all for being here and for doing your part to say thank you to the men and women who have served our state and this great country. And to all the veterans here with us, all of you watching at home or gathered anywhere on this day, on behalf of the state of Georgia, thank you for your service. With that, I'll invite Ms. Shelley Ann Simpson to the podium for the reading of this year's Veterans Day Proclamation. Ms. Simpson.
Good morning. By the Governor of the State of Georgia, a proclamation, Veterans Day. Whereas the citizens of Georgia and the United States of America live in freedom because of the contributions and personal sacrifices made by those who have served and by those currently serving in the armed forces. And whereas Georgia has always provided its best and brightest sons and daughters to serve bravely in America's armed forces, we remember with somber and grateful hearts those men and women who have served in the military with distinction and valor as soldiers, Marines, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardmen, and guardians. And whereas we offer our sincere prayers for those who continue to defend the ideals of liberty and justice on which our nation was founded, and whereas we endeavor to honor the contributions and sacrifices of millions of Georgians who have over the centuries served in the military and the tens of thousands currently serving at home and abroad, and whereas we owe an unrepayable debt to the almost 700,000 veterans who call Georgia home. If not for their strong desire to protect and defend our way of life, our nation would not be safe, free, and just. And whereas we are proud to recognize the veterans of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, they're deserving of our praise, and their sacrifices serve as a constant reminder that freedom is not free. And whereas we extend the appreciation of our citizens to those who wear the uniform of the United States Armed Forces and serve our nation to preserve freedom and liberty, and whereas on Veterans Day, the state of Georgia encourages all citizens to join in recognizing and appreciating the sacrifices and contributions of our veterans who fought for peace and defended democracy in our land and abroad. Now, therefore, I, Brian P. Kemp, Governor of the state of Georgia, do hereby proclaim November 11th, 2024 as Veterans Day in Georgia. In witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the Executive Department to be affixed this 11th day of November in the year of our Lord, 2024.
Thank you, Shelley. Today, as we honor our veterans, we also reflect on the values they upheld: courage, resilience, duty, honor, and selfless service. These principles are the foundation of our state and our nation. They are the same values our veterans have carried both in times of war and in times of peace. And they remind us that true strength lies in standing together and supporting one another. To every veteran here today, we offer our deepest thanks. Your service has secured our freedom and protected our way of life. It is because of you that we live in a nation and a state where opportunity, liberty, and justice can flourish. Thank you, and God bless you all. This concludes our ceremony.